Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour, and today is Tuesday, May 25th, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or in the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever discovered in my many years of doing therapy. These tools are gratefully available absolutely free at the website, whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the red and white bullseye or the link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages that says Start Here, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? That chapter of that book provides a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 16 years to improve my life from relationships, manage my emotions, and turn any negative emotion I experience into part of the infallible guidance system that each of us has been gifted with. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself absolutely free. It's a PDF file. Click and download it, print it off, and use it as often as you'd like. You can also go to your app store and type in the 3 words, Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness, and get access to a completely free and private app that contains that worksheet process, an abbreviated version of that worksheet, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. And you can download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through that worksheet process and or they've been calling in to ask clarifying questions or give testimonials about how the actual application of that tool in their lives has led to tremendous positive benefits. And if you do that, we hope you do soon and often, you can give us a call. Our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and when you call that number and press 1, it'll put a little question mark by your phone number, and I'll announce you by your area code, and we can have a conversation. We are doing the Course in Miracles lessons this year, going through the workbook lessons, and today is the 145th day of the year, and the workbook lessons are a review. We start with the thought, my mind holds only what I think with the Creator, and the 2 follow-up review lessons are lesson 129 and 130. 129 reads, beyond this world, there is a world I want, and it is impossible to see 2 worlds. And the point being, as long as I focus on the world I see, and there's any kind of upset in me, any kind of tension or negative emotion, I know I'm not seeing the actuality of what the Creator created, and I block myself from seeing the world I want. So those are the 2 lessons for today. And Pam Grout's Course in Miracles experiment book, lesson 145, is titled, Whittling Down the Vast Interconnected Mystery. She quotes Glenda Green as saying, behold infinity, and all that you see shall be given to you. Pam writes, only love is real. Underneath it all, there's eternity. It's either heads or tails. You can't have both. The Course gives me the following criteria for deciding what's real. Number 1, will it last forever? If not, it's a perceptual problem. What fades and dies was never really there and has nothing to offer. Number 2, does it involve loss of any kind, to you or someone else? Again, if so, it's a perceptual problem. Anything you take from someone else or perceive that they can take from you is an illusion. Number 3, what purpose does it serve? If it's related to bodily concerns, it has a price tag, it has eminence as valued by the world, then it's a perceptual problem. Number 4, does it invoke guilt of any kind? Again, nothing but a perceptual problem. So that's our Course in Miracles review lessons and the Course in Miracles experiment summary from the 145th day. And we have plenty of time. We have 53 minutes. We have the call-in number of 563-999-3581. And if you call that number and press 1, we can have a conversation. How can we support you today? What's on your mind? What would be of use to you to discuss or question? We have been reviewing the Course in Miracles experiment lessons and the Course in Miracles lessons. And the essence of the past few lessons is to help us question, what is it that our mind is showing us? And as we get ready to go into this review, we're reminded that my mind, in truth, the one mind that's connected, holds only what I think with all of creation. What is contains in truth only the truth. So forgiveness is a key to happiness, and forgiveness offers everything I want. I thank the Creator for the gifts that I have. Let me remember that I am one with the Creator. In quiet, I receive the Creator's word today, and all that I give is given unto myself, since we're not separated. There is no love but loves. There is no love but the Creator. And the world I see holds nothing I want. However, there is a world beyond the world I see, and it holds everything I could ever want. And as long as I keep focusing on the world my eyes show me, I will not be able to see the world of truth and the world that offers everything I could ever possibly want. So, we have, being a Tuesday, we have the reminder that today is a day where we have the offering of the Mind Shifters support groups, and every Tuesday and Thursday, or almost every Tuesday and Thursday, from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Central, I offer, now because of coronavirus restrictions, I offer both of them through the internet. It used to be just the Thursday group was offered through the internet. And we are offering that free. So if you want to attend, or you know somebody that would benefit from attending, you can get all the information you need to attend that group at mindshiftersacademy.org. And I need to remind people that there are two separate pages there for login information, that one's a login set for Tuesday and one's a login set for Thursday. We've had some people in the past who tried to log in with the wrong day's information, and it doesn't work so well. So, how can we support you? What is it about this work or about situations in your life that might benefit from us questioning them together? I should also mention that for the past year, a little over a year now, I've been donating my time to the Journey's Dream not-for-profit. And that not-for-profit is trying to help rewrite the narrative on mental health and provide a center for, or a clearinghouse for information about non-allopathic or holistic or functional or integrative approaches to mental health issues. And so we've been endeavoring to do one interview per week. I think we've done 56 interviews so far in just over a year, and The interview that got released today was one of the founders of Journey's Dream, Mitzi Montague Bauer, and she was interviewing me. And they said they wanted to have the listeners get to know the host some more. So if you go to journeysdream.org/podcast, you can listen to an interview and find out a little bit more about me. And there's the potential that that'll be used as one of our best of shows later on when I need a break, or when I have to, one of my other commitments keeps me from being here at 11 o'clock on a weekday. But you don't have to wait for that. You can go to journeysdream.org/podcast and access that, or wherever you get your podcasts. The On Your Mind podcast, hosted by Journey's Dream, has just a wealth of information. We've been interviewing various people for the past year who do integrative psychiatry, people who have authored books that relate to mental health issues and emotional health, people who have been through their own mental health struggles, other people who've had their own mental health struggles and gone on for a doctorate and turned it into a helping mechanism for people. We've interviewed people who have written a book on law enforcement and mental health for law enforcement. We've interviewed people like Dr. Peter Bregan, who has written a lot of books about how medications are not an answer to mental health problems. And so we've interviewed people who host treatment facilities that are geared towards helping people resolve their mental health issues either without medication or with as little medication as possible. One or more of those was a residential treatment facility. One of them is in Vermont, and one of them is in Arizona, in Sedona, the Alternative to Med Center. And my memory isn't serving up too many more of them, but there are, I believe, 56 episodes that have been published, and those are available for you to listen to and get in touch with anybody that we've talked about that is of interest to you. And so whether you listen to it or you forward it to somebody that you think might benefit, the On Your Mind podcast as a project is becoming a very useful resource for people who might be experiencing mental health challenges and want to do something other than the modern approach of let's just give you some medications to get rid of the current symptoms without looking at the underlying cause. So, if you have any questions or comments about that or anything we've talked about in the last 10 years here in the Mind Shifters Radio Show, we're available for discussion. 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, we can have a conversation. How can we support you today? What would be of value for you, for us to discuss? I'm hoping to do 2 more interviews this week, and I believe I've talked a little bit about Diedrich Wolzak. He was scheduled to be interviewed yesterday but had a conflict, so hopefully I'll be able to interview him tomorrow. And he has a very, very similar system. He's also, just like Dr. Michael Rice, who presents the tools and develops the tools that are available at whyagain.org, Diedrich Wolzak has a very strong base in A Course in Miracles and the understanding of our true nature as the energy of creation, energy of love, and that most of the mental, emotional, psychological problems that we create are being created because we have forgotten or have never been exposed to the truth of our true nature as the extension of love in form, or this the extension of the creative energy in form. And because at one level or another we had some kind of a trauma, and as a result of that trauma, we came to believe that we were damaged or broken or unlovable in some way. And one of the best ways to move forward in our lives is to uncover and then dismantle the negative beliefs about ourselves. And the parallels are striking. There's I believe that Diedrich lives in Vancouver, British Columbia, but he also has an intensive center in Costa Rica. Dr. Michael Rice has an intensive center in very southern Missouri, almost Arkansas, and he and Jeannie were exploring the possibility of creating an intensive center in Costa Rica. And based on what I've been reading and studying, the similarities between their intensive programs are amazing, right down to the fact that they do a lot of group processing, each of them, and they each work with a breathing technique to supplement the worksheet processes that they have. So the more I learn about these things, the more I see various people like Byron Katie and Dr. Hugh Len with Ho'oponopono and the Sedona release method, whether it's Hale Dwoskin or somebody else presenting that, Dr. Michael Rice with the Why Is This Happening to Me Again book and the host of tools that he's created from that, Diedrich Wolsack and the way he talks about the very same stuff. Key phrases come up over and over again. If you think you're just a body, you're missing the vast majority of who and what you are. When you believe your thoughts, you suffer. When you move into acceptance of the truth of your nature and what's happening in the world, your life gets better rather than worse. As you work in denial, as you create a belief that someone or something outside of you is causing and or maintaining your emotions, that's denial, you create more pain and problems in your life. So it's an inside job. All of my upset is an inside job. When I create that upset and then I look outside of me for a solution, I guarantee frustration and failure. I guarantee I will never solve my internal problems by searching outside of me for a solution. So I, for one, am feeling, excited and heartened by the fact that the number of people who are deeply studying what it is that causes our mental emotional problems and what the solutions are, who are coming to the same fundamental conclusions, is growing. And every time I discover another one with just a slightly different way of talking about it or approaching the inquiry into how am I creating my pain, every time I find another person who does that, I get excited. I think, you know what, we're getting closer to what Michael Rice would call the physics of critical mass, where that pretty soon there will be a global awakening of consciousness. And I don't think there's any rush in that. I talk at times in the support group about how when people say, you better hurry up, you better wake up, I don't think there's any rush. I just think each of us, in our own way, when we're ready, that does their own individual work, contributes to this global awakening. And it'll happen in just the right time. It'll happen when it needs to happen. And it may or may not happen before what we might consider as global devastation. But it's okay, because the waking up that we're talking about, that people say in order to save the world, people are talking about the physical world. And yet the waking up they're talking about is of the non-physical, is of the consciousness, of the spiritual. So I encourage people to take a breath and soften and do their internal work, be gentle with themselves when they're having a negative emotion, and to whatever degree they feel called to do so, apply the tools. And apply the tools gently, and apply them with patience, and apply them with the consistency that you can muster at the time. And as soon as you catch yourself beating yourself up or thinking you're bad or wrong or it's stupid that you're not doing it better or faster, just take a breath and notice that's the same old unproductive thought process that's giving rise to all of your mental and emotional pain to begin with. So it doesn't make any sense to keep doing what's causing me pain. And when I wake up and realize that, my healing, my ease, my awareness of the truth of my perfect safety can rise to the surface, can rise to the conscious level. And I can't force myself to quiet my mind, because the I that wants to quiet my mind is a part of the very thing that I want to get rid of or I want to stop. However, it is possible for me to witness that the efforts I make, something accomplished in that arena, are counterproductive. As Guy Finley says it in one of his talks, the mind finally awakens when it realizes, it finally stops all of its working, when it finally realizes that it is the source of its pain, not the solution to its pain. So my mental emotional processes are going to continue and get strengthened the longer my mind believes that it can fix its pain. And the only way it's ever going to slow down or calm down is when my mind itself finally wakes up and realizes that it is the source of my mental emotional pain, not the solution to it. So I don't control my mind. I don't stop my thoughts. I don't force it to be quiet. I recognize, if I do this kind of work, that underneath the monkey mind chatter and the racing thoughts and the obsession, underneath all of that, there is that which doesn't change, that which is calm, that which awaits, as some would say, awaits your discovery and is closer to you than your own breath. So we're here to support people in removing any false belief about themselves, any negative pattern of thought that leads to physical, mental, and emotional upset, and we present these tools. These tools are the Reality Management Worksheet, 3 Early Memories of Conflict, the Mind Shifter Targeted Journaling Tool, the Getting the Stress You Need tool, which has me, it's called the Mind Goal Management Sheet, which has me take control of, take responsibility for the goals that I create, and making certain, or helping me, have this tool to frame a goal before I set it, to make sure that it's in alignment with my values and priorities, with my relationships, that I'm going to enjoy the physical results of pursuing that goal and accomplishing it, or the relationship impact of accomplishing a goal. I can frame that out in a calm, quiet moment before I choose to set it. And then I can ask to be shown, before I go to bed at night, ask to be shown how to have a peaceful night's sleep and how to evaluate the goals I've framed. I haven't set any goals, and I cancel any unachieved goals. So it takes my mind and even my unconscious mind somewhat offline when I cancel any unachieved goals. And then the next morning when I get up, I can review, okay, now I framed these goals out. Do I really want to set them? Am I really going to be as satisfied with the expenditure of time, intelligence, money, and energy that it's going to take to accomplish this goal? And do I want to set that goal for the day? And when I set that goal, the next thing I can do with my conscious awareness is select it for attention and maintaining attention on that goal throughout the day so that I can do the steps necessary to bring it to fruition. And then I can accomplish the goal if it gets accomplished, and I can also cancel the goal. And I would cancel it when I realize that I'm not going to be able to accomplish it within that next waking period, or I would consciously cancel it if I live into the realization that it isn't going to provide what I wanted, and I don't really want to spend the time, intelligence, money, and energy that it would take to accomplish that goal. And rather than just trying to ignore it, realizing that there's this mechanism of mind that says, if I have set a goal, it continues to run in my mind, consciously or unconsciously, until one of two things have happened. It's either achieved or it's been consciously canceled. And since I understand that if it's any goals that are running in my unconscious that haven't been accomplished are a drain on my mental, emotional resources, then I can start to free up a lot of those resources by consciously canceling the goal. This is something that my culture has never taught me, but because my culture simply teaches me to set and achieve goals. Set them and achieve them. Set them and achieve them. Go, 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 achieve your goals. However, the benefits of freed up resources and calm and peace of mind that come from actively canceling goals, I don't think it can be overstated. It's been a tremendously powerful, positive benefit in my life to learn that set of tools and the power of freeing up my mental, emotional resources that comes from canceling unachieved goals. The good news is I get to choose the goals I set. So if I cancel a goal and then a day or two later I say, you know what, I think things have changed slightly, my energy's better, some other things have come into my awareness, I think I want to reset that goal. Yeah, the goal I canceled, just a day or two before, I'm free to do that. Moment to moment, day to day, week to week, I can choose the goals I set. And the time, intelligence, money, and energy that I spend on trying to achieve those goals. And as I manage those resources, those mental and emotional resources, I'm managing my own stress, and that's the reason Dr. Rice's lecture on that topic is titled, Getting the Stress You Need. Because we need stresses to get anything accomplished. And yet, stress that I create focusing on things that I'm unable to accomplish in the next waking period, and or stresses that are generated because there's an unconscious goal running in my mind-body energy system. So I'm not even aware of how much of my resources are being drained and contributing to a sense of feeling helpless and hopeless and overwhelmed. When I become aware of that process, I can start to manage it consciously. Man, it's just such a powerfully beneficial tool. I highly recommend it. And again, that's a worksheet that's available on whyagain.org. If you click on the red and white bullseye, you're on that next page. Just scroll down beyond all of the things we talk about in the intro of every show. lower down in that page are a list of worksheets, and one of them is called the Mind Goal Management worksheet, and that's one I've been referring to just recently. And it's available free as a download. If you want more of an explanation about it, you can buy Dr. Rice's video, Getting the Stress You Need, and I think it's about a 2-hour video that explains that process and how to use that worksheet. And it's one of the more powerfully beneficial tools, probably next in line to the reality management worksheet itself. And for me, it's kind of a close, kind of a tie for second between the 3 early memories of conflict and the Getting the Stress You Need lecture and the Mind Goal Management worksheet, because these two things together help me recognize what I'm doing with my mental, emotional energy that is either contributing to my frustration or helping me accomplish goals that are of value to me. So that's just 2 other tools that we haven't mentioned in a while. I thought since nobody had a hand up, I would talk a little bit about those. Our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and we have 27 minutes left. What would serve you as a topic, or what's a question you have? 563-999-3581. I was mentioning earlier that before we had as many people on the switchboard that the podcast, Journey's Dream podcast, was published today, that contains the interview. One of the founders of Journey's Dream interviewed me. So if you want to find a little bit more about me personally and me and my professional life, that interview is available at journeysdream.org/podcast. And as I say that, I remember, I haven't said this in a while. We have an open invitation for any listeners, whether you're listening through the archives or listening live, to send in recommendations about books you'd like to have me read and or interview the authors, or spiritual teachers that have had a profound impact on you that you think might be a good interview, either for the Mind Shifters radio show that we're listening to now, or the Journey's Dream On Your Mind podcast. If you have those suggestions and you're listening to this in the archives, you can send me an email at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org, tjh@mindshifters, with an S, -academy.org. Or you can give Jeannie, send her an email at jeanie@yagain.org. Alternatively, you can do what Ellen just did and call 563-999-3581 and press 1. Welcome, Ellen.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. Hey, I just thought of someone that you might be able to interview. I know she's written at least one book, I think maybe more than one book. Her name is Gail Brenner, Brenner. And I don't even know how I haven't read any of her books, but somehow I got on her email list, and she sends out an email every Friday, and I've been finding them very, very helpful. And she's also, I think, now doing some live Zoom meetings, which I haven't participated in any of those yet, but just from reading her emails, I think she would be a really good person for you to interview. So have you ever heard of her?
No, I'm typing it in now. Gail Brenner in books. And clinical psychologist, author, and speaker who helps people desperately wanting to be happy. Does that sound like the right person?
Certainly does. And she isn't like, so well known that she, a lot of those people like that are so well known wouldn't be available for an interview. She might be someone who would be looking to, get some more press or whatever you want to call it. Some more people finding out about her. I think she definitely has helped me in just the emails that she sends out.
Okay, well, she's got a book titled Suffering is Optional, A Spiritual Guide to Freedom and Self-Judgment, Freedom from Self-Judgment and Feelings of Inadequacy.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take a look. I will dig in a little bit and see if she also has a book called The End of Self-Help.
Yes, that's her first book. I love that because it's welcome to your scary, messy, something brilliant life, or isn't that like the subtitle to that one?
It's The End of Self-Help, Discovering Peace and Happiness right at the heart of your messy, scary, brilliant life. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I gave that book to someone who I just felt like, wow, I think she could really use this book, but I never read it myself, I usually don't do that, but I just felt called to give it to her because I think she might appeal to people that maybe aren't quite as open or as far along the path. She puts things in very simple, easy to understand ways, practical ways, which is great for all of us.
All right, I will look into that and see if I can't. All right, I found the website, so I can check into her, and I appreciate it. I'll let you know how that develops.
Okay, you're welcome.
So
also,
what else is happening in your young life?
I just wanted to mention, too, something that you said earlier today, which I found so helpful, and I know I've heard this before somewhere, but, had forgotten it, and hearing you say it today was like, oh, yeah. When you said about when the mind realizes that it is not the one that thing,
yeah.
Right? It's the one that causes all the so-called problems, all the suffering. That's when the mind awakens, when it realizes,
and it quiets down.
Well, right, it just stops, right? I mean, how could you not? When you're just if you realize, wow, look, you do something all the time, and all of a sudden you realize, wow, me doing that, I didn't realize the consequence of that, and once I see it, then you stop. So it makes perfect sense that, yes, the mind would just stop, and that would be it, I mean... So, yes, thank you for saying that because that was very helpful for me to hear that.
Yeah, that's the succinct quote from Guy Finley. I might have amended it a little, but that's the essence of his teaching, is that you're not going to make your mind be quiet. The mind stops its incessant chatter and trying to convince you and it and everybody else that it's right. Only once it wakes up and realizes it's the thing that is the source of your pain and suffering, not the solution to it.
Right.
And that's right in line with something that was, being talked about in the Course in Miracles Made Easy that I was listening to today and yesterday, and the Adyashanti book that I'm listening to. It's the very same thing. They're coming to the realization that all these different people who've gone into spiritual teaching and meditation, and they're trying to make their mind quiet down, control their mind, and it doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because the part of me that wants to stop, part that's doing all the talking. So the part of me that wants to control my mind and quiet it down is the part that thinks it needs to be in charge to make it quiet down. Well, I can't, stop the flood by pouring more water into it, right? It's not going to happen.
Right. It's like the ego trying to be the one that wakes up, the one that's trying to seek enlightenment. It's it's the part that's preventing you from waking up. But yet the whole search is really undertaken by the ego, isn't it? I mean, what else could it be? Because you're already enlightened, who you really are.
Yeah, and the ego is the only part of me that suffers anyway.
Right, exactly.
And it doesn't realize that it's only suffering because it thinks it has to run the show. And it's trying to run a show that is not equipped to run.
Yeah. Yeah. And what relief to find, that's a hard job to run the show. So it's a big relief when you realize that not only do you not have to run it, but that you really, it's an illusion that you are. But
yeah, and it wasn't your job in the first place.
Right.
Right. You just came to the false belief because of the way you were trained by the family and culture that was your job. So it is, it's like being able to retire in a sense, and the relief of that, knowing everything's going to be taken care of. I've saved enough money for now, and I don't have to work every day. And it doesn't mean I don't do anything. If I'm a healthy person and I'm retired, it's not like I sit on the couch all day and eat and drink to morbid obesity. But I can do what I do with comfort and ease, knowing that the big picture is taken care of. And that's like what happens when the ego wakes up and realizes, oh, wait, it's not my job to run this show. I'm supposed to be a passenger in this bus. And, let's say if it gets a flat tire, get out and help change the tire. But I don't need to navigate. I don't need to pick the destination. The ego can just relax. And it does when it starts to realize that its pain is coming from its own effort.
Yeah.
But not until.
Yeah, that reminds me of a dream I had once where I was driving a car, but somehow I think I had a blindfold on or something, or there was some reason why I couldn't see. And here I was driving, and I was terrified because I couldn't see. And then I just got the message so loud and clear. Don't worry, relax. You're not in the driver's seat. And I was like, oh. I remember waking up from that dream and feeling so relieved. I don't have to worry about crashing and killing myself. I'm not even the one that's driving.
Yeah, and that reminds me of something that I just ran across. I'm trying to find it here. I had highlighted it in one of the books I was reading, and it says it's a Ramana Maharishi who said, a dreamer dreams that all the characters in his dream must wake up before he can. Think about that. The dreamer dreams that all the characters in this dream must wake up before I can wake up.
Well, that's like, the way I guess I look at it is that it's my dream self that's trying to wake up, and which is obviously impossible because it's the dream self is not the one that's sleeping.
Well, this is more in line with when I think my husband or wife has to change in order for me to be happy, right? If I think I'm only frustrated because my business partner, signed a contract without asking me first, or when I think people and things outside of me are responsible for my upset, I'm in a dream. I'm in that, what Michael Rice would call being in denial or being in a codependent relationship. And the Course wants us to understand we're responsible. The only place to seek healing is within, and the only time to do that is now. Right? There's no time in the future. Guy Finley says this over and over. There's no time in the future when you're going to awake.
Right.
And you're going to awaken to your true nature.
Right. And I've
it's
heard
now or it's never.
Right. And I've heard I don't know if you're familiar with Jack O'Keefe. She's another awakened person, and she likes to say, right now, this is right here, this is as good as it gets. Don't be looking for something to get better. This is it right here, right now. It can't get any better than right here, right now. Because that's what people are always doing, seeking something outside of this moment. And I know Leonard Jacobson put it in a way that I thought was really good. He said until you can fully deepen into the present moment and experience the truth of the moment, the heaven that it really is, it's going to feel like really ordinary and really boring. And so what happens is the mind is so much more enticing, because with the mind, you can think about wonderful memories from the past, or you can anticipate the future. And so there's this luring that the mind does, that says, well, come into me and we'll go on all these journeys that are total fantasy, of course, and take you out of the present moment, because the present moment seems really boring compared to where you can go in your mind. But so that's where you need to come into this. No, I know that only the truth only exists in this present moment. So I am going to stay here, no matter how boring it may seem at first, because I know eventually I'm going to be able to deepen into it and discover that world beyond this world that I really do want. It isn't somewhere else. It's always right here, but I have to be willing to stay right here.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing you bring up is the concept of boredom.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, what kind of a craziness is it to be alive on the planet in any given moment and then assume it's boring? What could be bored in me? It's got to be that thought process. It's got to be the ego, right? It isn't my true self that's bored ever, because my true self is the extension of the creative energy and form. There is an endless array of things to enjoy. It's that, peace beyond all understanding. That means I have peace not for a reason. Happiness beyond all understanding, happiness for no reason. Great teachers for thousands of years have said, if you're happy for a reason, I feel sorry for you. Why?
Yeah.
Because as soon as the reason changes, you're going to lose your happiness.
Exactly.
And so the essence of being able to be awake and aware in the moment of your true nature, and there you are staring at magnificence beyond the most beautiful sunrise or sunset that you've ever encountered, and you're staring at it in yourself. you're having an experience of it that goes beyond words each new present moment. That's your true nature. How is it possible? It's impossible to be bored with that. That's
right.
the flow of life expressing through you in this moment. To say I'm bored with it is to say I'm not paying attention to it. I'm not seeing it for what it is.
Yeah, and that's a big one for me. My ego's always insisting that if I just sit still and do nothing, that it is boring as hell. And I just have to, keep saying it's not true. I'm not going to listen to that because I don't believe it. But that's one of my key challenges.
Well, and then what happens when I go to find something to appease me when I have decided I'm bored? What happens is I'm in that wild goose chase again. And whatever I find is only, always, and forever going to be a very temporary solution. And as soon as it changes again, I'm back into it. I'm chasing, it's like the dogs at the dog race park that are chasing the rabbit on the end of the stick that's always running just out their reach. There's no way for me to have satisfaction or gratification because I'm looking outside of myself for what is, the St. Francis of Assisi. When you go out there looking for God or light or enlightenment, what you're looking for is the very energy that's doing the looking. That's why Dr. Michael Rice will say, do a love exchange in the mirror and understand that that's this energy of creation expressing in form is your true nature. This is the essence of everything you might ever want. And it's here staring in a mirror. It's here, it's the energy beating your heart and digesting your food.
Such good news.
Yeah. It's like the statement about you're like the person who's got the most precious jewel in the world, and you put it in a pocket, and you forget that you put it in your pocket, and you wake up one day and you say, wait a minute, where's my jewel? And you go looking everywhere except your own pockets for that jewel. That's like the dream of separation. That's being in the dream and chasing this imaginary solution. So we hope that we can wake up from that. And one of the ways to wake up from that is to start observing as consistently as possible every time we are in any kind of a tension or an upset, and recognizing how many times in our tension or upset have we searched outside of ourselves for the solution, and how many times has that led to a lasting resolution. And once we wake up and realize it's happened an infinite number of times and it has never led to a lasting solution, then we're free to quit doing it. Right? Then we're like the mind who has awakened and realized it's the one that is the source of its pain, not the solution to its pain. And then whatever it is doing, has been doing, ceases. And in that moment, if I can breathe into that and just be and observe, I start to see possibilities I've never seen before. And these are possibilities that don't have words. Oh, what is that possibility, Dr. Tim? What's going to happen when I don't know, because it's beyond language. and it's beyond my experience. One of the favorite quotes from one of our support group attendees from Guy Finley is, the new can't be known. If you go out looking for something and you think you're going to find what's new, you're never going to find it, because you're looking for something based on what you've experienced in the past. And by comparing things you've known in the past to your present moment. So you're not going to find the new, because the new isn't something that you have had access to before. It can't be known. And as soon as you have an experience and you know it, it's not new anymore. So the miracle happens by learning to live in the question, in the moment, as Rilke would call us to, and understanding that my mind that wants to analyze these things and put words on it and be able to share it with others is incapable of knowing newness, because it instantly grabs a hold of it and wants to shrink it down into something that's familiar to it based on its past, and then put words on it and then try to express it to others. And that's pulling me out of the experiencing in the moment. So what's suggested by Rilke and other spiritual teachers is that we cultivate over time the ability to live in the question without demanding an answer that can be, crunched down into what the 9-bit mind might be able to put words on and then compare to others and brag to others about how it's got the truth, etc.
Yeah, so, that reminds me of. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it time to go?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was
it reminds you of what?
Of Byron Katie talking about how she had to start kind of like living in the deception just in order to communicate with people. Because, when she first woke up, she couldn't, call herself Katie or, live in this world that most of us are living in, and calling objects names. But she said that she realized with time that if she wanted to communicate with anyone, that she was going to have to start using, she couldn't use the word I, because there is no I. But she had to start doing that just in order to communicate with people. But she knows it's not true. So she's learned how to live in it without identifying with it.
Yeah, and Michael likes to quote one of the lines from the Course in Miracles that talks about once you wake up to that, you come back into what's not true, but just for the purposes of bringing some of what you've learned to those minds that haven't experienced it yet. You're not coming back into what's not true and pretending it's true. It's a temporary, function you can serve. All right. Well, thank you again for calling. It's lovely to hear from you. And I will remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeannie Rice.